Albert.
Okay.
Nancy, good to have you with us.
It's good to see everybody. Thank y'all for having the meeting.
I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes because I know we had some other folks joining us.
Okay.
If you're in
Jeff?
COP, the funding resolution passed unanimously today. So contracts.
Oh, yay!
If that
Great news.
pertains to you, that hurdle is done. I think I'm losing my voice because I've had a busy couple of days, but that is behind us. And then Arts Activate round 2 will be coming very shortly to allocations. So we are cranking in the blend shop.
Good. Well, thank you for keeping all that moving forward, Jennifer. We appreciate it.
Of course.
I want to express
Jeff, good to see you.
I want to express my disappointment, but I understand about the reality in terms of getting the studio ready in time for the festival. But John has other plans to substitute, so that's good.
That's all we could do with the supply chains. But yeah, no, I think the temporary floor actually worked as well as anything else we could have done. But yeah, good luck. Thank you for your flexibility.
We talked about it earlier, and I'm relieved that he and y'all were thinking about it also. I knew you were, but I don't know you were until you say you were. So I'm glad. Thank you. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
Why don't we go ahead and get started? I want to welcome everybody. I expect we'll have a few more folks joining us. So, stay on mute unless you're speaking, and you can use the chat function if you have questions. So the first thing is a quick organizational update. I just want to remind everybody that we don't usually have meetings in November and December because they would conflict with holidays and everybody's busy doing holiday programming, unless something really urgent comes up, in which case we can always call a special meeting. I am working on trying to pull together a brown bag lunch. I had hoped to have that done this month, but it's just turned out to be a little more complicated. I've had a lot of questions from people about hybrid meetings where you can have some people in person and some people virtually, and that is not as easy to do as it sounds. So I am looking for some technology people to kind of walk us through how to do that successfully as we're, kind of getting back into normal functioning, where maybe some board members might want to be present in person at a meeting and some may want to stay virtual. So hopefully we'll have that squared away in a couple of weeks. And then along with that, in the same session, I would like to do a session on an app called Bindle that a number of theaters and performance halls are using in other states. It's an app that people can upload their vax information securely, and then it's very easy to, for a venue to very efficiently check and make sure that, and they verify it, so it's verifiable vax information. And that way, if people forget their cards or what have you, that would be an option. Now, the venues, of course, would have to purchase the app to be able to do that. So I'm looking into that. So we'll have a dual brown bag session on that, on both of those things. And then I also wanted to let everybody know, in case you hadn't heard, that we have a new chair of the Cultural Affairs Commission. Ella Good Johnson has been approved as the chair. And for those of you that don't know her, she's been on the commission a number of years. She's very knowledgeable about the arts community, very supportive. So we are just thrilled to have her. And I think it's a wonderful thing for the commission and for us. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that. And if you know Ella, please reach out and congratulate her. And you might be able to do that. Jennifer, can they do that through the Office of Cultural Affairs website? Is there an email link to the commission members?
Her contact information is under the Arts and Culture Advisory Commission. And I would just say do it directly. Also, we are working on liaison assignments. So If you don't have a liaison, just hang out for a couple more weeks till we get all of our new commissioners assigned. Hang on with us.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. And then we're working on the DACAC website. I mean, it's not a major upgrade, just we noticed that there was a lot of links that weren't working and old information, so we're kind of cleaning that up. It's a real basic site, so it doesn't have a lot of functionality, but we're trying to improve it. So excuse me, I would ask anybody, if you are on the website and you notice anything, please let us know so we can correct it. Or if you have a suggestion on how we can, make it work better, just let me know and we will try and work on that. So moving forward, I have asked Albert Wash from the Bishop Arts Theater to just give us a real quick update on things they're doing there and overview of the organization. Albert is a new face for us in our community. He has joined the staff over there just recently, and we're thrilled to have him. So I wanted to make sure you all got to know him, and I'm going to turn it over to Albert to let us know what's going on over at Bishop Arts Theater.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Joanna, for having me here. For those of you who don't know, my name is Albert Louis Wash II. I'm the Associate Artistic Producer here at the Bishop Arts Theater Center. Just a little bit about myself. I recently just graduated from Point Park University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, BA in theater, minor in musical theater, and concentration in directing. And so I recently, after I graduated, I literally started working here at the Bishop Arts Theater Center. And so it's been really a blessing just to be in this position, just to learn, meet different people in the arts community as well, and just to be back home as well. Just a little bit about Bishop Arts Theater Center. It's an award-winning multicultural theater company. In 2021, we received the Dallas Business Journal Inauguration Leaders in Diversity Award. And then in 2019, we received the TCG's, which is the Theater Communications Group, prestigious Peter Zeisler Memorial Award for exemplifying pioneering practices in the field and for taking risk for the advancement of the art form. And so Bishop Arts was first chartered in 1993 in Atlanta, Georgia. And at first it was founded by Miss Teresa Coleman Wash. And so she was more so doing dinner theater performances at the Lakewood Playhouse. And she was partnering with community groups such as Luke's Place, which is a neighborhood organization that provided social services and for men who are recovering from substance abuse. And then in January 2000, she relocated in Dallas, Texas. And then she started to produce a full season of plays at the Hall of State at Fair Park. And then in 2005, this building donated to her on 215 South Tyler Street, which is where we are right now. And so in 2006, that's when renovations started to begin in the building. And we got done in 2008, June of 2008. And that's when renovations were completely done with the building, and we had the theater officially set. And so in regards to the fall season, we're in our last weekend of Before You Get Married by Frankie Gonzalez. I've mentioned it a couple of times, but Frankie Gonzalez is our playwright in residence. And so upstairs, if you haven't been to our space, we've actually transformed our incubator space into a hotel room. The play is it's only a 2-person play. We made it kind of an immersive experience for audience members. It's only 25 seats capacity, and a lot of people came out. They really loved the show. It's just about 2 siblings and their relationship towards one another. I won't spoil it, so I'm gonna urge you all to actually come see the show because it's really, really good. And it's called Before You Get Married by Frankie Gonzalez. Tickets are still on sale. You can visit our website to go ahead and purchase one. Also, we're having our second jazz show here on November 20th, which is called Paul Taylor and Nick Corleone. That'll be at the theater, 2 shows. That's our jazz show. And then we have the Black Nativity, which myself and Zetra Goodlow will be directing. That won't be told in a musical format. It'll more so be a play with musical and movement elements. And so it's very interactive, very immersive. So it's much more different than past Black Nativities that you all are used to, or if you have seen here at the Bishop Arts Theater Center. Also, we have in February, actually, we are doing our annual play festival. It's called we're commissioning 10 playwrights to write a play based on the book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. I know Jonathan Norton is one of the playwrights that'll be attending that festival. And then in April, we will be producing Bars and Measures by Idris Goodwin, directed by Giles King. And then later in August, we'll be producing Curse of the Puerto Ricans. So that's our full theater season. We just announced our 2022 jazz season. That'll take place next year. And also we are still working on our speaking series, just trying to find ways how we can be more interactive towards that and just make that different as well, and not necessarily the same speaking series that you all were used to seeing here at the Bishop Arts Theater Center. So, and as a whole, like I said, we are a multicultural theater that produces speaking series, jazz series, arts education as well. Every summer we have the summer theater camp where the kids come out from ages 6 to 12. They'll learn theater, art, dance, and music, all in one, from Monday through Thursdays as well. So at the end, they'll do a summer theater showcase that we invite talent scouts to. They'll look at the kids, and some kids they'll get picked, if they're good enough, but they'll definitely get picked from the talent scouts that do come out. So arts education, theater series, jazz series, and speaking series as well. That's all what we do here at the Bishop Arts Theater Center. And thank you, Joanna, for having me and letting me spotlight Bishop Arts Theater as well. And again, come see Before You Get Married here at the Bishop Arts Theater as we go into our last weekend. We have a Thursday performance, Friday performance, and 2 Saturday performances, 1 matinee and 1 night show. We don't do performances on Sunday, just so that we can benefit our mental health.
Thank you, Albert.
You're welcome.
We're really glad to have you as part of our community. Does anyone have a question for Albert? Okay, well, I just want to commend the Bishop Arts Theater for some really innovative programming throughout the pandemic and going forward. So we can all learn a lot. Moving on, Suzanne Smith is here with us. Suzanne's been working with the Salmon Center on a survey on several surveys that we're doing related to the new facility we hope to build. And so she wanted to come on today and ask for some help around the visual arts survey.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for allowing me to do a commercial break. So very quickly, I know one of the things that we've been talking about for a very long time is affordable housing for artists and an opportunity for a live, work, play experience. So with this new facility, potentially that Salmons is looking at, Salmons 2, we want to get a sense of what the needs are. We want to make sure if we build it, it's exactly what our artists in this community need. And so many of you have already sent out the survey. But if you haven't, we're going to send you kind of a quick boilerplate email along with a link that you can then forward to artists. And part of our goal with this is to specifically benefit this particular enterprise and to see, is there viability? If we were to create this, what would it look like? What is the demand? Not only for the space, but also for office space and other things. But there's been some interest at a global level for us to share the survey results. So one of the reasons why I'm here is I want to make sure we get an appropriate sample size. So right now we've got a lot of great visual artists who've taken the survey. We need theater, we need dance, We also need some other areas to make sure that we have an appropriate sample size. So in particular, if you represent those particular disciplines, we would greatly appreciate you getting this out. We put it on Facebook, we've sent it out to a number of different groups, but we just want to make sure we have, when we pull this all together, we have a good sample size across the Metroplex, but also across all the disciplines. So you will be getting shortly from me the email template that you can forward out, as well as the link that you could post. So you can hand it out however you want. We are going to extend the deadline so that way people have an opportunity to take it over the next couple of weeks. In addition to that, there is an incentive. So people do get an Amazon gift card. They're in a raffle for an Amazon gift card. So, and we'll also make sure the results come back to you guys. Any questions? Yeah,
Anne has one.
What is the deadline? What is the extended deadline?
So we are trying to decide that, but I think it's going to be early November.
Mm-hmm.
So we can, if you have a specific time period you want us to do, as you know, when we hit Thanksgiving, things kind of go out. And so we want to make sure we get the information prior to Thanksgiving so that then we can put together the results and then hand it back to you guys for your analysis. And so part of what we want to do is have enough of a time to kind of pull it all together.
We'll be happy to put it out on social media too.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Yeah, social media is great. So a number of you guys have already done that, but we'll make sure you guys have lots of stuff in your email to kind of hand it out however makes the most sense. Okay, thank you for letting me take a little bit of time, do a little bit of commercial.
Thanks, Suzanne, and thank all of you for your help with this. So next we have, I was going to go through the upcoming election, but we have Anne Graham here for Texans for the Arts, and she has a really great Texas legislative update for us, and I don't want to keep her because Anne, I know you're out of town. So I would like to just move ahead and let Anne tell us a little bit about a major achievement for our lobbying efforts at the through Texans for the Arts. So Anne, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me here. I'm fingers crossed, hoping that everything is as optimistic as you state, Joanna, because we've been working hard collectively and still waiting for some final details to happen, but do feel optimistic. So as you are all aware, the third special session was completed about 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. That there was the first, there was a second, and then there was a third. And the primary issues facing the Texas legislature in the third session was one, redistricting. So all of the congressional, Texas State House, Texas State Senate, and I even think some of the school districts. So extensive priority there. You probably have read plenty of that, and those are going to be the districts when they're finally approved that will be our districts for 10 years. So very important, very complicated, very political, and we will have elections in 2022 that will be with this representation of these new districts. So it's incredibly important work that happened, and there's lots of concern about the outcome. I'll put it that way. The other primary thing was the distribution of the American Rescue Plan Act funds. So you're well aware of these as well. The state tranche was a $16 billion tranche. I think that's the new word, favorite word, 15.8 billion of which was distributed and decided upon during the third special session. That is the state's ARPA funding. There was also the municipal and the county ARPA funding for communities over 50,000, and then those that were smaller than 50,000. And so you would be a part of the larger part. And I'm actually, if Jennifer's on the phone, I'm still curious to learn what is happening from the municipal section. But in terms of the state section, these funds had been decided during the general session that the Texas legislature would be given the purview to decide during a special session. So it was a special act just during the third special session. It was not part of the regular budget that was approved way back in the end of March 2021 with the end of the 87th legislative session. So these funds went through the Senate process and the House process, just like a big budget does. There were Senate hearings that we testified at, there were House hearings. And at the very beginning, there was zero appropriations for the arts and culture and creativity sector, zero. We had put forth, working with the Texas Commission on the Arts, a $35 million request over 3 years for money to go directly to the TCA to be distributed similarly to how the TCA distributed funds to nonprofit organizations during the CARES Act in the summer of 2020. A grant program, again, for nonprofits, those funds would be distributed, again, similar to how they did ARPA funds, how they did NEA funds, how they did CARES funds. That was put into, we were happy to see a $20 million appropriation in the Senate budget originally, not in the House budget. In the other important thing that happened is the tourism industry, which was an amalgam of hoteliers, restaurants, campgrounds, convention centers, and a couple other components of the tourism industry, submitted an $800 million request. And that actually also did not appear in the first budgets, but did come out of the Senate budget with a $180 million request. So that $800 million request raised a high bar, high platform. I was aware that that was going to be submitted. I'd met with the hotel industry about that, and was sort of reassured that the arts would be part of that and are considered part of the tourism economy. So that was good news going in. Again, the 800 got shaved down to $180 million, and that actually passed through the House and the Senate in a conference committee vote. And so there is now $180 million in that fund. There were no funds that went directly to the TCA, the Texas Commission on the Arts, despite our advocacy with the hopes that it's like no overhead, quick ability to get funds out to the arts and culture sector, which has been so affected, as you all know. So where we are right now, there were some really important discussions that were happened on the floor of the Senate. Senator Nathan Johnson of your North Dallas area is a tremendous arts advocate and has a background in composition and music. And he was really our lead supporter and exchanged important words on the floor of the Senate with Senator Jane Nelson, who is the chair of the Senate Finance Committee, about whether or not the intent of the 180 and tourism would include the arts. And she said yes. And we are putting a lot of weight behind that the intent is for that $180 million for arts organizations and potentially individual artists to be eligible to apply. Where those funds are going to be distributed from is the Office of the Governor's Office of Tourism. So it is a separate, completely separate from the TCA. We're trying to see if funds can't be taken from the 180 and put in the TCA so that it, again, is more streamlined, ready to go, rapid fire, ready to be put to use. And we're waiting to hear on that. So at the moment, we do hope, our good news is that the arts and culture sector would be eligible to apply for the $180 million. Grants, we do know, would be restricted to $20,000 maximum apiece. The point there being that if you did have SVOG funding or PPP funding or PPE funding or other types of federal stimulus funds, that there would not be sort of a double dipping. So that is where we're at, and we do hope that that's a positive income. I mean, it is not the outcome we had hoped for. We had hoped for additional resources, and at this point are pleased that believe we're eligible for the 180. I will keep everybody apprised, posted as soon as we know what this grant program looks like. It has not even been developed yet. It's a first time undertaking. So a lot of work ahead, but thank all of you for reaching out to your legislators. Again, I can't reiterate, as you know, especially as you start talking about elections and other things that will be coming up, it's so important to know who your legislators are and that they know you and that they come to your performances and they're familiar with your body of work. And the best thing you can do is make sure that happens through your outreach. So are there any questions about, apart from my question for Jennifer, are there any questions about anything about the American Rescue Plan funds? We will keep you posted.
And thank you so much. Oh, Jennifer, go ahead.
Did you want me to kind of
Yes.
explain where ARPA? So the
Yes,
city of Dallas is also the lucky beneficiary of 300 and some odd million dollars of ARPA funds. And unlike the first waves of COVID relief, you have until 2024 to spend the money. So it does allow us to be, I would say, more strategic and planned than the first round, which was survival in the first wave of the pandemic. The city has already made some really large investments with these funds. You may have read about the rapid rehousing plan. That was ARPA. A lot of our big things that you're hearing about, and it's actually happening pretty quickly. I want to say that was 70 something million. Arts has only gotten a little bit of the money, but I really want to stress that all of that ARPA funding has relieved the budget in other ways, which is the way we have been able to, grow our funding by 4%. So, it is all one pie. But there was $1 million that was added to help us retrofit the 5 black box theaters, make some investments at the Prism Center, which is up in the International District, things like that, but nothing in double digits. However, it has relieved the city's budget such that we have been able to chug right along. So any questions? I'm not an expert, but I can also answer any more details. I can track down more details if you want to. Okay. And thank you, Anne,
Thank
as
you,
always.
Jennifer.
That's great.
Thank you.
And again,
And
these funds called, Ann? This is Debbie Kenya.
What are the calls? What are the funds called?
Yes.
It is the American Rescue Plan Act, otherwise known as ARPA. And it is the state allocation. So separate from Dallas County, the county and the municipalities have a completely different source of the funding. And this is the Texas state. You may be hearing from your peers around the country. Every state, every community is different. Some of them are stretching it out over multiple. City of Houston, actually, they used about 1/3 of their funding. Jennifer, this is what you just said, to support their budget. They used 1/3 of it, and they probably are going to spend the next third at the next budget, and the next third at the next budget. I'm speculating. Some of them are dividing them up. Some of states have already decided. We're the only ones I know that really just took a session and just nailed it and really considered the whole thing at one time. But again, every community is very different. And as far as we know, if we hope there's an infrastructure bill coming, right? We still don't know. That hasn't been settled by Congress. If there's an infrastructure bill, which will probably be the last big federal allocation right now, there may be opportunities, certainly hope there are opportunities for arts and culture to benefit from the infrastructure bill as well, but that still hasn't been passed by Congress. Debbie, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanna, for having me as always.
And thank you, and please thank Shannon for her the huge effort that she made throughout the legislative session to carry the water on this. Y'all did a great job. And I also want to let everybody know, we have a small task force that's working on putting together a possible request to the county. The county got a substantial amount of ARPA funds as well, although they have already allocated most of those funds mostly to health services, rent services and things of that nature. They have never funded anything related to the arts, but we thought this might be an opportunity to get our toe in the door. So we are working on an opportunity to put in a modest request for something. We're not sure what that is yet because it needs to conform to whatever the guidelines are for the county, and the county hasn't really defined what their process is going to be. So we'll keep you updated on that as well. And if we need any advocacy around it, we'll let you know. So any other questions on the legislative update or ARPA funding? Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Anne. Enjoy your time off.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go back to the agenda item about the election that's currently going on. And obviously it doesn't resonate in the same way that an election for city council or our state legislature or any of those things do, but it is always important that we get out and vote, if for no other reason to show our legislators that we're paying attention. And some communities may have a few extra things on the ballot, but it's primarily an election around 8 proposed constitutional amendments put forward by the Texas legislature. Election day is next Tuesday, November 2nd, but early voting has started and it ends the 29th, which is Friday. And you can vote in any precinct if you're a registered voter in your county. There is a link there with more information. I'll quickly tell you what the amendments are. Prop 1 would be for women's and men's rodeo associations to do raffles at their events. Prop 2 would allow counties to issue bond funds for transportation and infrastructure in neglected areas. Counties have not been able to do this in the past. This would give them new tools. Prop 3 would prohibit any government entity from enacting any rule prohibiting or limiting religious services at any time for any reason. Prop 4 would require judicial candidates to be Texas residents with a license to practice law in Texas, be a practicing lawyer or judge for at least 8 to 10 years, and not have had their law license revoked or suspended. And you would have thought this would already be a requirement, but oh well. Prop 5 would allow the State Commission on Judicial Conduct to take complaints, conduct investigations, and take action against candidates running for state judicial offices. Prop 6 would allow residents in nursing homes or long-term care facilities to designate a caregiver who would not be denied access to those people, visitation to those people. Prop 7 allows a surviving spouse of a disabled person receiving a homestead exemption to continue to take advantage of the exemption as long as the surviving spouse is 55 or older. And Prop 8 would extend tax exemptions to the surviving spouse of a disabled military veteran who dies because of injuries sustained during service. So those are the 8 propositions. You may not think that they affect you directly, but any of these, well, most of these probably could. So I urge you, if you haven't already, please take a few minutes. You will find no one is at the voting precincts. I went to vote and I was the only one there. So you can get in and out really quickly. And more information, there's a ballot you can look at on Dallas County election site if you want to actually see what the exact wording is on these propositions. So does anyone have any questions about the election?
No, but can you send out this summary document?
Sure, happy to. And then the last thing on the agenda is an update, just a general update on COVID-19. I hope you all have noticed the case numbers have dropped significantly in the last 2 weeks. Dallas County's recorded a 40% drop from the previous 14-day period and a 31% drop in hospitalizations due to COVID-19. The current day average is 411 cases a day. UT Southwest has a great model. It's been very accurate throughout the entire pandemic. And you can find it on their website. Just Google UT Southwest COVID projections. They're predicting down to 280 cases a day by November 11th. And the link is right there for that PDF. They update that every couple of days. And I have found that to be a really good tool. And I'm telling you all this because I know we're all trying to make decisions about how we go forward with fall programming, holiday programming, et cetera. Looking at capacity limits and so on. And we're not out of the woods yet, so I don't want to let anyone think that the worst is over because we just don't know with this virus. And if we can all be patient a little bit longer, maybe we really can get past it to a great extent. But I wanted to give you the latest information available on where things stand, and happy to get any input from anyone else or questions or anything others are doing to accommodate safe programming.
I would just say one thing that's been very important to us as we've moved forward with our season. You can't communicate enough to the public what you're doing and what your expectations are. We haven't had an incident with the mask requirements because we've been very clear about it and very communicative about it before they get to the theater. And then our protocols with the artists coming in have been very strict, and they've actually all been very grateful to it. So it's gone. We have not had an incident on either side of the curtain with the productions we've been doing. So over communicate.
I will say that we have, this is Debbie Pena. We have had some, but it's once again the few that, not the many. The many are very compliant and understand the importance. So we just keep our signs up and remind them and do the best we can. And I just echo Charles, that's a great document. Joanna, if you don't mind sending it to all of us with that, even with the COVID information, I would love to have that.
Sure, I'll send the whole information form out to everybody.
Just call it
Does
voting.
anyone
for
else?
idiots.
Call it what?
Voting for idiots, and just send it to us all.
Thank you
I'm
so
okay with it.
Yeah, I agree with what Charles said. We had 6,000 people come through over the summer for our 3 productions and followed all the actors equity protocols and had no issues whatsoever. We had a couple of patrons who asked for refunds early on when we communicated the mask requirement, but we had more sales when that was communicated than we had people ask for refunds. And the artists themselves have been very appreciative of all of the testing and all of the safety protocols in place. They have all felt very safe. So, I think we're all doing a pretty good job working through this challenge, and hopefully, we're past the hurdle and it will continue to drop. But like you said, Joanna, who knows what's going to happen after the holidays?
Yep, absolutely. Anyone else have a comment or something to share? I will share that we haven't had any pushback from any of our patrons or any of the building users on masks. And we've been checking the vax cards as well. And we have been making a log of that with our patrons so we know, so they don't have to show it every time. We had one couple who had planned to come, and then they decided that we were being unfair to the people who didn't want to show their vax cards. So they didn't come. So we were like, okay, fine. So it wasn't that they didn't, it wasn't they were against vaccinations. It was that they thought we were being unfair. So one in every crowd. So go figure. And the last thing I wanted to share is on the agenda.
Joanna, just real quick, how are you able to get around the Governor Abbott not asking for vaccination card legislation?
Well, we have a raffle for a gift card to a restaurant. If you show us your Vax card, we pull a raffle ticket at the intermission, and everybody is very, very happy to show us their Vax card. So we make it a raffle instead of a requirement. We've had 100% participation, 100% vaxxed. And it's gone perfectly smooth. So it's not a requirement. It is a fun raffle.
Thanks. I'd heard that other people were sort of doing the opposite and saying you need to show a negative COVID test, but you can show your vaccination card in lieu of getting a test, and that also gets around the governor's legislation. And is equally as productive, I think.
Yeah, that's groups in Austin have been doing that. I don't know that actually gets around the governor's rule. I think Austin has been pretty upfront about not complying with the governor's orders. And Mark Cuban, I think, is going to be and the Mavs are going to be a good test case as well. So we'll let them poke the governor in the eye, and instead we're just going to do a raffle. So okay, last thing real quick, and I'll let you go. I just want to make sure that you all know, if any of your groups need working capital to get through the next year or so, SBA has extended the EIDL loan program. These are loans, but the terms are really, really, really good. And that program ends on December 31st, but you have to have your application in before that. So if anyone's interested in this, the website's very easy to understand. The loans are available to nonprofits. The interest rate is 2.75%, and it's a 30-year term. No payment is required for the first 2 years, although the interest does accrue. The loans of $25,000 or less don't require any collateral. Loans from 25,000 to 2 million do require collateral and maybe have some other requirements. You can use the funds for any legitimate operating expenses, payroll, utilities, rent, mortgage, or to pay off existing loans other than government loans. Funds may not be used to purchase property, expand business, or pay off existing debt to the government. So that will also be on the info sheet that I send out. And I just want to make sure you all knew that in case anyone is in need of, funds to tide you over as we kind of reemerge from this pandemic situation. So other than that, I don't have anything else. And just if anyone else has something they want to offer or share, I'd be happy to open the floor. Guess not. Well, thank you all for being here. It's great to see you. I hope that it won't be too long before we can go back to having some in-person meetings again. And I'll miss seeing you in November and December, but if we need to convene a meeting, I will certainly let you all know. And I'll send this information out right after we're done here. So have a great evening and just, take care and be safe.